At first, it seemed like an ordinary call for help, a voice, trembling and desperate, calling 911. But what happened next would leave everyone, including the operator, haunted. This was no ordinary call. It was a voice from the dark, a voice carrying a mystery no one could explain. On a cold winter night in 1996, in a small town shrouded in fog, a young woman named Julie made a call to emergency services. Her voice was shaking, barely above a whisper. She told the dispatcher she was hiding under her bed, afraid that someone was in her house. But as the dispatcher tried to calm her down and gather details, Julie suddenly went silent. In the seconds that followed, only faint breathing could be heard on the other end, and then a blood-curdling scream. The call was traced to her address, but when officers arrived, they found the house empty. Julie was gone, and to this day, she's never been found. The recording of her call is now locked in the police archives, but the dispatcher who took her call still hears her voice in her dreams, wondering what happened that night. But Julie's story is far from unique. Throughout the years, strange and haunting 911 calls have surfaced, baffling authorities and sending chills down the spine of anyone who listens to them. Some calls are cries for help from people who seem to vanish without a trace. Others feature voices that sound otherworldly, as if something beyond our understanding is trying to reach out. Take the case of Terry Cottle, a man whose life and death would become intertwined with a series of eerie calls. In 2008, Cottle took his own life, but the mystery surrounding him didn't end there. His heart was donated to a man named Sonny Graham, who soon began experiencing strange feelings, as if Terry's memories were somehow becoming part of his own. Over time, Sonny started to sense something dark lurking in his new heart, as though he was living with Terry's lingering despair. Just a year later, Sonny Graham made a 911 call, sounding distressed. His voice was muffled, his words incoherent, and in a haunting twist of fate, he too would later take his life in the same manner as Terry Cottle. Was Sonny simply a man struggling with his own issues, or was there something more to these two lives, forever bound together in a cycle of tragedy? Some believe it was an eerie case of cellular memory, the idea that emotions or memories can be transferred from donor to recipient. But others aren't so sure. Whatever the reason, the strange, unnerving calls connected to Terry and Sonny's stories remain a haunting mystery. Not all calls are from the living, though. In 2012, a mother in California was watching TV when she received a call from her son's phone number. Her heart raced. Her son had passed away just weeks before in a tragic accident. She knew it couldn't be him, but against all rationality she picked up, hoping to hear his voice one last time. There was silence, then static, and, faintly, the sound of her son's favorite song playing in the background. She called the number back immediately, but there was no response. Her son's phone, she would later learn, had been placed in the casket with him, deep underground. To this day, she's convinced it was her son reaching out from beyond, giving her one final sign that he was watching over her. Skeptics argue it could have been a technical glitch, a wrong number, or an error from a phone service provider. But to her, and to those who hear this story, it's something much more chilling, a message from a world just beyond our understanding. One of the most infamous 911 calls ever recorded took place on a stormy night in 2015. A woman driving down a deserted road dialed 911, her voice filled with fear. She claimed someone was following her, a figure that seemed to appear and disappear in her rearview mirror, always just out of reach. "I keep seeing him," she whispered, "and he's smiling." The dispatcher tried to reassure her, asking her to stay on the line and remain calm. But as the minutes ticked by, her voice became more panicked. Suddenly, she let out a gasp, saying the figure was standing in front of her car, staring straight at her. She screamed, and the line went dead. When officers arrived, they found her car abandoned in the middle of the road, with her phone lying on the driver's seat, still connected to the call. There were no signs of a struggle, no footprints, and no sign of anyone in the area. The woman was never found, and the case remains open, with local legends claiming it was the work of a mysterious figure known to haunt that stretch of road. These stories leave us questioning what we know about the world of the living and the dead. Are these voices in the dark merely coincidences, or do they represent something more? A bridge, perhaps, between worlds. A glimpse into the mysteries that lie just beyond the veil.